What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data points, there isn't really a whole lot coming out that could impact Chinese stocks. Between Monday and Wednesday, you have the National People's Congress Standing Committee. So they review laws, policies, and so forth. Nothing, I believe, that's on the agenda that's going to be crazy impactful, but on Wednesday I did see some articles talking about a stimulus meeting, so that could really help Chinese stocks really move higher, and a lot of that is because of what's happening between China and the States. So that could of course really move stocks higher, so that will be coming out on Wednesday. Aside from all that fun stuff though, you have the market most likely going to be negatively reacting to what happened over the weekend. So in case you do not know, the States did attack Iran. Right now the market's kind of just waiting for Iran just to see what they're going to do for retaliation. They did already mention that every American is kind of a target as of right now, so things might escalate, but Monday most likely you will see a red day. And looking at cryptocurrency right now, that's usually a good indication of how the market is feeling as far as appetite for risk. And currently Bitcoin is down 4.1%, Ethereum down 9.6%, Ripple 8.08. So of course that is fair to assume a lot of this is going to translate into a red Monday. So somewhat just be aware of that. So once I go over the technicals, just watch for some of the key support levels. But aside from that, surprisingly, there hasn't really been all that much in news from NIO that I haven't really brought up in previous videos. So it is just going to be registration numbers and maybe something else that they do kind of come out with randomly. But aside from that, it is just going to be piggybacking off of the broader market. Going into this week though, you have shorts being very active. So going into this week, 13.91% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 214.61 million shares. Even on Friday, shorts did increase 2.5 million. So I think shorts are starting to sense blood. And one thing that they have been doing, as I brought up in my dedicated NIO videos throughout the week, is that they hit it hard first thing. So of the, let's say like 5 to 10 million, shorts make up for half of that. Second half of the trading day, they usually taper off. So shorts are being very strategic in trying to break NIO for whatever reason. And things changed as of, it was June the 13th. That is where whoever and whatever entities are shorting NIO, they decided to really double down. So they're hell-bent on really bringing NIO down. So kind of interesting. So anticipate them to be very, very active. But ultimately, looking at the options for the bulls, there is a consensus for it to be roughly between that $3.50 and $4 range for this upcoming week. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub $3.50. So given everything, there's a little bit more upside. But then again, to be fully fair, it's been like that for a while now. And so there's always optimistic individuals with NIO just saying that the PS ratio and just the metrics are showing that NIO's at a crazy discount, which I do agree with. But on a macro standpoint, things aren't necessarily there. But with it closing at 341 on Friday, you do have 15,000 at that $3 strike price that is essentially in the money. And normally that would cause a bump up because that 15,000 does equate to 1.5 million shares needing to be covered by market makers. But there was a very abnormal transaction that was done after hours on Friday, and that was for 1.3 million shares. Works out to be $4.43 million in overall premium, but essentially that is market makers covering a lot of those options. So you might see a little bump up for that 200,000 remaining, but I don't anticipate any crazy move for this upcoming week first thing. Aside from that though, with it at 341, it is trading right now between this S1 and this S2. So 338 is going to be that strong support. You really want to watch for it to hold, because if it does break below that, then you have 322 followed by 282. So things could get very real very fast. And I see a lot of people in my previous videos commenting, just saying, hey, this is going to $3. realistically, like, it's a fine line that is holding NIO up right now. So watch for 338 and then 322 to be the support levels. If for whatever reason NIO has good registration numbers and let's say some other good news, then it could really move higher. So 347 and then 363 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. But just be aware, shorts have been very active. So you need a good catalyst that institutions will actually buy NIO based on. So I think that's one thing that NIO has been really struggling with, is that they've been putting out relatively good news, but it's all for the future, saying we are going to do this, we are going to do this. Nothing's like, hey, we have done this. And I think that's partially NIO's biggest problem, is that they are very future thinking, and nothing wrong with that, but you really need to hit your targets and goals and expectations if you are going to continue to do that. So that's something I think that has really been affecting NIO. But aside from that, there hasn't really been all that much in new analyst ratings, as I have mentioned in previous videos. So that could potentially impact the market, but I really feel that the next time that we get some new ratings will be because of their monthly numbers. So we'll just have to wait a week or so. But this upcoming week, on a side note, you do have their shareholder meeting, but it's only one proposal, and it's just to reaffirm the accounting firm, 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 or 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 or whatever it is. So I don't really see that being something that you need to really pay attention to, but some people might care about that, so just be aware of that. So that is going to be held on June the 25th. Aside from all of that fun stuff though, on the actual chart itself, you have the 50-day moving average at 377. So that is kind of seems like a far out dream right now. I don't really see that being touched whatsoever this week. So I think on a technical standpoint, NIO is really breaking down, even though essentially it is going to be considered mind-blowingly oversold. It just needs a catalyst. And even aside from it needing a catalyst, Wall Street just hates NIO massively. So I think NIO really does have its work cut out for it in order to really move higher. So yeah, it's not necessarily the best. So like I said, just really watch for a lot of those support levels to hold. If not, you are going to see a little bit more of a retest of what did happen in April. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Throw your price predictions in the comments below. Where do you see things going? Do you think it's going to recover to the 50-day moving average or even above that this week? Or do you think that it's going to go lower? I always like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. As far as this week, I don't really see that much optimism to really cause it to go higher. So in my opinion, similar to what I mentioned last week, I feel like there is a little bit more downside. So most likely we will be closing between this S2 and this S3 for this upcoming week.